Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Peter Horton, and I'm the Global Channel Marketing Manager for Impinj. And joining me today is Carl Brown, President of SimplyRFiD. And on behalf of all of us at Impinj and SimplyRFiD, I wanted to thank you for attending today's call. Now, the webinar should take about 30 minutes with 20 minutes of presentation time and about 10 minutes to address any questions you may have at the end. Now, before I hand the controls over to Carl, I just wanted to take a couple moments and introduce everybody to Impinj, for those of you who are not familiar with us. Impinj is a global provider of UHF RFID technologies, and it's our industry-leading products that enable the RFID capability in SimplyRFiD's Knox solution, which we'll learn about here shortly. We have an innovative product portfolio. It includes the core components of RFID technology. We've got our Monza RFID tag chips, and these tag chips power many of the RFID tags available in the market. Now, Impinj doesn't manufacture finished tags, just that tiny little microchip that is essentially the brain of the RFID tag. In addition to our tag chips, we also have our Indy reader chip product line. These chips allow manufacturers to integrate RFID reading and writing capability directly into their products, embedded into their products. In fact, many of the handheld and fixed-mounted RFID readers that are currently available on the market are actually powered by the Indy reader chip. And lastly, Impinj has its own portfolio of discrete design finished RFID products, like our high-performance Speedway Revolution reader. We've got optimized reader antennas. And lastly, we've got our Speedway X Portal integrated reader, which actually combines both the Speedway Revolution reader and those optimized antennas into a single unit. And our diverse product offering allows us to enable numerous industries, such as retail, pharmaceutical, consumer electronics, and of course, physical security. Now, with that said, I'd like to hand the controls over to Carl, who's going to talk about his RFID-enabled Knox video surveillance solution.
All right, excellent. Yeah, thanks again, Peter. I'm Carl Brown, president of SimplyRFiD. We started in 2002, really getting into the RFID industry with Target stores and other supply chain type applications. And over the years, we found certain things about RFID better than others. And what I'm going to take you through today really is what we find RFID is most effective for, and how it's really changed things. One of the things we found with RFID in general, especially in supply chain, is that you really need it from beginning to end. It has to go from manufacturer to the end user. And we found with 30 or 40 items in a box, it ended up costing $5 or $6 per box to RFID enable the contents of a box, which so many items are lower value, and it's really hard to justify for just an individual supply chain. Even though 30% of our business is doing DoD supply chain management, the rest of our business is really focused on surveillance. So a few years back, we started talking to some folks in the surveillance industry about 2005, and we've been developing the product ever since, and I'm going to walk you through that product, how we deliver that product, what the market is, and where it really goes. And Gartner says it best, which is that 30% of all your IT assets are unaccounted for. So what we try to do is help you account for them. The first thing we're going to talk about is some customers and success stories and what really works the best in this market and how to make it happen. We noticed that the surveillance industry, cameras in general, is about a $4 billion market. The people are buying these cameras. They spend a lot more to install them and manage them and run them, but that's a typical market. And what are they buying? Well, the biggest company out there is really a company called Axis, and they make these they make these IP cameras that go on your network. And they sell about 1 million of these cameras a year, about $500 a piece. So people are spending a lot of money to monitor and watch their stuff, but they can't find anything. There's facial recognition and there's other ways of seeing things, but really, without RFID, they can't really search that video. And what we do is we make that video searchable. So what I'm going to do is pop up a real quick demo just to kind of make it more apparent what it is we do. This is actually our office right now, and you can see there's 4 cameras. You can see there's our little production area, front door, sitting area, and a secure room we have. But really, you don't know what's happening. If I scroll down a little bit, You can see there are tags moving around in view and then out of view. And these are all things that are happening. You can see, actually, this is Megan over here operating something on the computer. But let's say I wanted to find something. Let's say I want to find, let's see, where's Guzman? Well, here she is. And she was last seen today coming through our front door around 10:30 this morning. Let's see what else she has. She has an iPad. Let's go see where her iPad is. Her iPad came through the front entrance also with her. If I click that link, I can replay the event of, oh, here she is going out the door at 10:30 this morning with the iPad in her purse, we can presume. We can't see it, but that's the difference between video and RFID. Video can't see the iPad. RFID can actually see the iPad in the purse. And we link all of that together. So right now we're looking at this particular camera. I can change it to a different angle and see the exact same event of Emily walking out the door and get a larger picture too if I want and see a much clearer shot of that video. So you spent all this money, you put all this great surveillance equipment in, but you can't find anything. And that's really what we solve. And so that's what I'm going to walk you through over the next couple minutes as to how we solve that. Gen 2 passive RFID is what we're talking about. There's a whole lot of talk of RFID nowadays. What is RFID and who's using it? And sorry I talk fast. It's just something I do, so hang on. But Gen 2 is it's a world standard. It's used everywhere. It's passive. There's no battery in it. You can make tags that are very durable, can go outdoors, indoors, and it's really been adopted by Walmart, Target, DoD, and it's very, very low cost. Some of the cheapest tags are around 10 to 15 cents. Some more durable tags are a few dollars. And what you're looking at here are some customers. This is actually Mercado Libre's data center. They tag about 10,000 servers on their racks. U.S. Navy tracks, these are load cells. They use these to track for calibration purposes, check in, check out, knowing where things are going. Gold bars, customers use them. This is a $200,000 worth of gold with one RF chip on it tracking where it is. But our biggest area is really laptops, and it's great to put an RF tag on a laptop because then you know who has a laptop. We can assign it to a badge and really track where the laptop's going. What you basically do is once you've tagged all your items, you place antennas around areas of your buildings. This particular building here is a secure room where they receive a pallet of laptops, about 3,000 to 6,000 laptops every quarter. And one of the problems they had was they got 3,000 laptops in. At the end of 90 days, they'd build these out, they'd make them for all their internal users, and they were missing 10 or 20 or 30 laptops at the end of that time. And what they did was they added RFID tracking to those laptops, and they figured out where the laptops were going missing. And they found out that basically someone was taking these laptops as they were coming into the room, placing them into a shipping envelope, selling them on eBay, and dropping them in their mail room. So they actually never even left the facility via the front door. They were actually just going right out in the shipping stream. And RFID with video allowed them to track that and figure out where this is occurring. Other facilities added in readers above doorways around pallets so that when you drive a pallet into here, it actually checks it into this terminal here, this terminal on the wall, tells them what they're bringing in, secures it to that facility, and keeps it from going out. And then some of the more traditional things you see, like supply chain. Here we have a conveyor system that's monitoring all the items as they go down the conveyor tracks. And what we do, what Knox does, our software, is it takes all that RF data and video and manages it together to track it and tell you where it is. So over the last several years, we worked with about 3,000 customers. Probably our story that really changed us in the surveillance side was about 5 or 6 years ago. The FBI showed up at our door, and it was actually in our basement at the time, and they came rolling in and said, "Hey, we heard you guys can track some stuff," and that's really where we realized, hey, this is where RFID is going, and we changed a lot of our direction based on that. But a lot of other customers have a lot of stories. INS, for instance, has a facility with a 10-story building with 14 exits. And they had security guards on every exit, 25,000 laptops and folders, and they needed a way to track it. They were still losing laptops all the time, file folders, things would just disappear. And the security guards were looking in the bags, they just didn't see anything. And with RFID, as it hit the doorway, a little message pops up for the security guard and says, "Hey, check this bag, make sure that there isn't anything in here." And what we've done over time is pick the best technology partners. As Peter said, Impinj really powers what's inside most of today's technology out there. So Impinj makes one of the best readers on the market, the Speedway. But inside the some of the other chips they make, they manufacture a chip, the R1000, R2000s, that show up in the Trimble ThingMagic readers and the CSL readers. Impinj also manufactures the chip that goes inside of OmniID and Verify. These guys, Verify and OmniID, I recommend you check them out. They're both make some amazing tags that are small as a pencil eraser, like on the end of a pencil, that can track very small items pretty far. And then cameras, Whelen and Axis are our two favorite brands. We integrate the video from them, and we're looking at more vendors for more camera equipment, but they've been the best so far. So what are you looking for when you track? We really found that there's two markets for this. There's either the Sting Kit market, which is a $2,000 or $3,000 product, $2,000 or $3,000 Sting Kit that people can buy, set it up, install it, and run a sting operation. They might want to just track 100 items, put it in a doorway, and that's a good market. We sell a lot of those. We sell 10 or 20 of those a month to different operations that are just getting started. But the real target market is when you have 5,000 or more, and 10,000 more ideal, where you can't possibly track this by hand. We get a lot of calls people say they have 100 laptops, and I'm sure they have a problem, and I'm sure they're losing the laptops. But a typical system, if you're going to put it in a building, is going to start around 20 to 30,000 on the basic end, and they grow into the $300,000-$400,000 range for a whole asset tracking solution. So if you don't have a lot of assets, it's really hard to justify the cost. So really what you're looking for is a lot of movement, a lot of data, things flying everywhere where you just can't possibly keep track of them any other way. And that's where RFID comes in great. The second one is things that are high value. The three main ones are laptops, data servers, and people. Those are the three things that people want to track all the time, and you need a lot of them to justify it. The tier 2 items are things that people probably are going to want to track, and they're going to say they want to track, but they rarely buy it. And we analyzed about 2,000 quotes that we've done over the last 5 years, and we broke this down into an actual metric. We said, this is what people are going to buy, and we don't find that, everybody's interested in it, it's very hard to justify the cost. And then finally, tier 3 things are phones. Phones are one of the most popular, and until you can tag one of those phones internally, it's going to be really hard to track a phone because they're just small, and it's hard to find a tag that's going to fit well on a phone. And then finally is the need. Almost everybody has a need, but until someone gets hit either with a lot of theft, or they're in a sensitive area, or in the case of, for instance, Mercado Libre, they had to do a frequent count. If you're a public company, there's this, 8-9-year-old law now, this Sarbanes-Oxley, that requires you to count all of your assets every quarter and justify that you've accounted for them. So for them, obviously counting 10,000 data servers was a lot of effort. So for them, they made it very simple to say, hey, we need RFID. But in other situations, for other data centers, tracking items in and out the front door is key and critical, that when it hits the door, they know who's bringing items in and out of that area. The most common places we find, again, we've broken this down to who likes RFID, what do they want to do with it. Banks love RFID. They're really great at counting things, and I guess it shows because they want to count all their assets constantly. Even the smaller banks, like Old Florida National, is great. They're I think there's 7 branches down in Florida, and they track all their desks and furniture and equipment, and they use a small handheld tracking application for that. Terramark, obviously, is one of the biggest data centers in the world. They were purchased by Verizon, and they handle all the sensitive government-type work that's out there and manage pretty big data centers for a lot of companies. INS, obviously, is one this is not the immigration service. This is actually a customer in Costa Rica. Fantastic insurance agency down there that tracks all of their goods in and out. And then Fortune 500, FBI, we get purchase orders for Sting kits continuously for FBI operations and other big companies. One of the biggest ones that I was really surprised is public schools. I had no idea how many assets public school systems have to account for on a annual basis. So that adds up to quite a bit of money. So where do you go to get started with RFID? Well, do you have things that meet all 3 of those requirements? Again, we'd love to see everybody get started with RFID and use it, but practically speaking, you're going to spend a lot of time because you're going to be changing some type of process, and you're really looking for those 3 needs to come together to make it a viable solution. Unless you're doing a sting operation, in which case, you're essentially an FBI or an investigator at that point, and you're setting up your own operation. Coordinating the project. This is a key thing I want to toss out to everybody. That the biggest reason that we see failure is no one does the tagging. The greatest success and loss of our bids ever was when a customer tried to buy 1 million tags from us with a 30-day delivery, and I said, "Man, we can only deliver them 50,000. We just didn't have the stock on hand." And I talked them into that 50,000, and they still only tagged 35,000 of the 1 million items they want to tag. So it's been like 3 years. So it is a really hard process to tag items. Someone has to do it. You have to manage it, and it's a lot of work. So don't forget to get a project coordinator in there. And this comes back to you're going to have someone, even if it's only 1,000 items, someone has to coordinate that. And then that's it, is figuring out where do you go from there and how do you schedule up your next meeting. And that's it. We'll turn it over some questions now. Peter, I'm going to turn the display back to you.
Just give me 1 second here. All right. Well, we've got a few questions here. Let's start with the first one. First question is, will this presentation be available, or can you send me a copy of it after today's call? So Impinj will post a recording of this webinar on our website. That way you can view it later, and we will notify you when that's available. Let's see here. Second question. Carl, this question's for you. Can we use Indigo Vision cameras?
We don't currently. We're looking at every brand of manufacturer out there, and we can definitely take a look at that one too.
For short read range, will the readers be integrated with the video camera?
For short read range, yes, they can be. We can actually, a good example is Impinj has a reader called the Matchbox. It's actually an antenna, excuse me, where you can set your read range to pretty much be a prox type read, where someone walks up, taps it, and it unlocks the door, and that can integrate with your video still to show that open, close, and that video event.
All right. Let's see here. Got a few more questions. Just give me a moment here. Let's see. Question for Carl. I'd like to know if the Knox system can track notebooks at a read rate of 100% of the tag notebooks going through portals.
So the question is, can it read 100%? Is that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I see the question now, Peter. Actually, wow, that's a tough one to say. For the most part, yeah, it's going to be 100%. There's a couple ways to defeat RF. One is a metal bag. If someone places it in a metal bag, we can't read for sure. And tags can fail. One of the solutions we have for that is we double or triple tag. In fact, most of our larger or more worried companies, they're going to put 2 or 3 tags. There's going to be an overt tag that a thief might try to remove, and then they'll tag something internally. And I think as time goes by, you're going to see more and more devices coming from the manufacturer pre-tagged. Will it ever be 100%? It'll be 99.99. I don't think you're going to get a full 100 ever. Of anything, it doesn't matter what it is. It wouldn't be, nothing can reach 100.
All right. Next question. Again, this is for you, Carl. What type of cameras do you recommend?
Yeah, right now, well, IP obviously is the number one requirement. So we're looking at every brand of camera that's out there, and trying to find ways to work with all of them. Right now, Leland has a couple of really great HD cameras on the market, and of course, Axis brand is the number one camera company on the market right now. Both of them are fantastic. We're looking at Panasonic and Sony and a bunch of others also.
Great. Got another question for you, Carl. Can your system be integrated with a traditional access control system?
We can. And the question has always been, how do we do that integration and what's the best way? We do offer a Wiegand 26-bit output. It's currently in testing right now, but we have a system working together with a CanSec, which is an access control company, and we're doing it based on the most common protocol out there to send a door open or a gate open event. As we see more locations, we'll figure it out. But the issue between access control traditional and what RF can do is that one of the things I said, it was very fast. We're typically processing more than 1,000 tag reads per second per reader. So if you've got 20 readers, we're looking at 20,000 events. And deciding what to send to an access control system, most access control systems can only handle, well, they can only really handle one every two per second. Maybe in aggregate they can handle 100, 20 or 30, but they're not designed to deal with the kind of data we're pushing. So figuring out what your right solution is how do you want us to send that data? Definitely it works. It's just a question of how do you want it to work.
Great. I've got another question about tagging notebooks. Are you using encapsulated tags with plastic, or are they directly applied onto the notebook?
Both. There's a few things. We manufacture a few tags ourselves, but you can also look at Verify, XER, AFY, and OmniID, OMNI-ID. Both of them make a wide range of tags. Most of the better tags nowadays do not encapsulate in plastic. They've developed something, either a ceramic base or, in the case of OmniID, they've got this very interesting, I don't know what you call it, butterfly waffling thing they've done. I'm not sure how that works, but it's phenomenal stuff, and there's a lot of choices out there in a dozen different form factors and sizes.
Okay. Another question about integration. Are there other VMS systems that you interface with?
Currently, no. We do not.
Okay. Does the Knox system associate the person's ID to the asset's ID? Yes,
we do. In fact, I should have shown you that. Maybe I did show you that in the little demo there. But we associate, for instance, I think I pulled up Emily's ID as she went out the door, and all of the assets that Emily has, her laptop, her iPad, and anything else that we issue is associated to her ID. We can then track that out the door and ensure that her ID badge shows up with the asset so that it doesn't go out without her.
All right. Well, it looks like that is the end of the questions that we've received. If you do have any questions, we've got a couple more minutes. Please do enter those into the question box. You'll also see on the screen there is an email address for SimplyRFID. Please feel free to email your questions directly to Carl and his team as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Peter. And thanks, everybody, for coming.
I've got one more question here I think everybody could benefit from. Let's see here. Is it an easy process to run real-time reports of where assets might be found in a building?
Yes, quite easy. In fact, yeah, the entire system runs in real time, and we've got a couple different things you can do. We have an application for mapping asset classes. So let's say I was looking for all of the weapons in a building, for instance, or the nearest security guard. So I can run a report and show that all my security guards are located here. and find the nearest one, or I could find heart defibrillators or any other type of asset class I want to locate, pop it up on a map, and show where it is. You could also set boundary conditions to say that certain items can't go out those, and we'll get notifications to say that wheelchairs shouldn't leave the hospital type of events. So absolutely. The system runs in real time, and it's going to report everything in real time via both email or SMS or anything else, including integration to an access control alarm system type device.
Great. Looks like we got a couple more questions, and we still have 3 minutes left. So, do you have a time tracking interface for personnel? I assume that's being able to understand when people come and leave work.
Yeah, that's a great question. We get that request fairly frequently, and I think that if that rolls back into the quantities issue. If someone came to us and said they had 10,000 workers they wanted to track in and out of a facility for time tracking, it would probably be a great solution. We've never had that request as far as for that level of need. And what I'm trying to say is that could you do it? Yes, we can run a history report that's going to show you the arrival time and departure for a person, and we'll integrate that with video to ensure that that's the right person that was checking in and out. But it's a cost issue. Time clocks are still in the sub 10,000 type worker range, a lot cheaper.
Great. We've got 3 more questions. Hopefully we can get through those. The first one is actually a couple people have asked this again. Can I download this webinar later? Yes, we are recording this, and it will be posted to the Impinj website, and we will, of course, notify you when that's available. Second question is this hosted software, or is it on a server?
Oh, that's great. Yes, the software is Windows-based. It'll run on Windows 7 or Windows Server. So you can install it on the internet on your own cloud system if you want to put it out on something like Amazon Web Services, Elastic-type stuff. Great, you can do that. It'll also run on a local laptop, a $400 laptop you can set up and have a mobile Sting kit. So no special weird things you need.
Great. And last question. You've mentioned Sting Kit a couple of times. Can you explain what exactly is in the Sting Kit and how I would go about getting one?
Yeah, definitely. Sting Kit, take a look at the front of our website, SimplyRFiD.com, and you're going to see, as you scroll down, our Knox ATA Mini and our Sting Kit. In fact, the easiest way to get one is to come to the IACP event and register to win a free one. But Sting Kit includes an Impinj RFID reader, the Leland camera. It includes our Knox ATA Mini, which is a laptop, and a PoE switch. Everything you need to basically set up an operation and deploy it in the field to run around. So if you'd like more information, we'll send you a complete list and quote. Just shoot me an email. My email is carl.brown@simplyrfid.com, and I'll make sure we get you a quote right back with all the pieces